Hey everybody, this is Wendy Ponomarenko. I'm the art teacher and librarian at Temple Emanu-El. And as part of the ongoing library project where our temple tries to bring our resources to you during this time of need, I've been reading a book a night. And tonight's book is Shanghai Sukkah, which is by Heidi Smith Hyde, and illustrations are by Jing Jing Tsong. Hope you enjoy. This is Shanghai Sukkah by Heidi Smith Hyde and illustrations by Jing Jing Tsong. On his 10th birthday, Marcus found himself on an ocean liner, heading for Shanghai. "I don't want to go to China," he whispered to his parents. "I want to stay in Berlin." But Berlin wasn't safe for Jews anymore. "We need to go where we're welcome, Marcus," Mama said. "I know it won't be easy, but as long as we're together, we'll manage somehow. And there are other Jews in Shanghai." Shanghai was nothing like Berlin. In Berlin, the pavement didn't melt during the hot summer months, nor did the streets flood. In Berlin, 7 families didn't share one room in an old apartment building. But Mama said to make the best of it, so they did. Every night she put flowers on the table. On Shabbat, they lit candles and recited the blessings. At the yeshiva in downtown Shanghai, Marcus met other Jewish boys his age. One weekend, Marcus and his friends were playing marbles in one of their neighborhood's narrow alleys. Marcus's marble rolled too far. He chased after it, but someone else reached it first. A Chinese boy held the marble out to Marcus. "Thank you," said Marcus. He pointed to himself. "I'm Marcus." The boy smiled shyly. "Liang." Marcus waved towards his friends. "Want to play with us?" Liang's smile grew, and he nodded. Although they spoke different languages, Marcus and Liang soon learned to communicate as only friends do. Yet Marcus missed his family and friends back home. As the harvest holiday of Sukkot drew near, he felt this loss even more. He thought of the beautiful sukkah his family always made, with fresh fruits and vegetables woven into the branches. "Where will we put our sukkah this year?" he asked his parents. "The apartment building has no yard or garden." "Can we use the roof?" "Nobody uses the roof," Marcus said. He was determined to perform the mitzvah of eating all his meals in the sukkah. "My friends can help me make it. We'll build it out of bamboo." Two days before Sukkot, Marcus, Liang, and the boys from yeshiva gathered bamboo for the sukkah. Using a saw Liang had borrowed from his father, they cut the stalks and loaded them into a rickshaw. Then they collected shrubs and greenery for the sukkah, the roof of the sukkah. As they worked, Marcus told Liang about Sukkot. "We have a harvest festival too," said Liang. "It's called the Moon Festival. There are games and moon-shaped cookies and a lantern parade. We make red lanterns with special riddles attached." "Huh, what kinds of riddles?" asked Marcus. Liang smiled secretively. "You will find out soon. The Moon Festival begins tomorrow." The next day, Marcus and his friends built their rooftop sukkah. Together they measured and cut and fastened. All the while they sang songs from their old home to pass the time. It was a simple little sukkah with its slender bamboo poles and sparse roof. Here in Shanghai, where supplies were scarce, fruit and vegetables were for eating, not for decorating. "My sukkah is so plain. I wish it were a little nicer," Marcus told Liang. "I know how to make you feel better," said Liang. "Come to the Moon Festival tonight, with my family and me. We can march in the parade together." When darkness fell, Marcus followed Liang's family deep into the city, where people of all ages were gathering. The streets of Shanghai exploded with wonder. Fantastic creatures lit up the night sky. "Look, a dragon!" exclaimed Marcus, pointing to a fanciful paper creature that stretched from one side of the street to the other. "Dragons bring good luck," explained Liang. Then Marcus noticed what looked like a bunch of bright stars twinkling in the distance. "The parade of lanterns has begun." Liang led Marcus to a table covered with shiny red paper lanterns. Each lantern had a slip of paper attached to it. "The papers have riddles on them," Liang told Marcus, picking up a lantern. "Let's see what this one says." He squinted at the words on the paper, then translated for Marcus. What adds light and warmth, even though you can't see it?" Marcus thought and thought, but no answers came. What could possibly add light and yet not be seen? "Come on," said Liang, "let's join the parade." The two friends raced down the street into the sea of lights. At yeshiva the next morning, Marcus couldn't stop thinking about the riddle of the lantern. "Rabbi, what adds light and warmth even though you can't see it?" he asked Rabbi Kravitz. Stroking his beard thoughtfully, Rabbi Kravitz said, Your question is a puzzling one, Marcus. How did it come to you?" "It came from a lantern that my friend gave me," Marcus replied. Rabbi Kravitz smiled mysteriously. Perhaps the lantern would light the way to the answer. At sundown, Mama said, "It's time to recite the blessings, Marcus. Shall we go upstairs to the roof? Papa and I would like to see the sukkah you and your friends worked so hard to build." "All right, Mama, but it's not as nice as our sukkah in Berlin," Marcus warned her. But up on the roof, Marcus's breath caught in his throat. There, glittering in the darkness, stood the little bamboo sukkah, covered in red paper lanterns of all shapes and sizes. "Happy Sukkot!" cried Liang, with a smile as bright as the full moon. Marcus gazed at the beautifully decorated sukkah. It was the best sukkah ever. But not just because of the lanterns. What made it special, thought Marcus, was the friend who decorated it. Marcus thought again about the riddle of the lantern. What adds light and warmth even though you can't see it? The answer, Marcus decided, was friendship. The end. Marcus and his family were refugees coming from Germany and going on a visa that was granted to them by the Japanese ambassador, Chiune Sugihara, who I read about in this book, Passage to Freedom, which is in our biography section. This was an amazing man who saved thousands of Jews, because even though his government didn't give him permission to, he handed out visas to basically every Jew he possibly could. He spent days just writing these things out by hand so that as many people could be saved as possible by his hand. And what he did was he gave them permission to be able to leave Germany because they had visas in hand. They could leave Europe. And it gave them permission to go through Japan on their way to China. And China did not require a visa for you to go there. And there was a small Jewish population there in Shanghai. And so many of the Jewish people that were saved by Chiune Sugihara made it to Shanghai. And there's still a Jewish population in Shanghai, actually, even today, although many of them stayed in Shanghai for only a short time and then immigrated to other places like America and other countries. So one of the really cool things about this book right here is it actually tells the story, even if it is somewhat fictional. It tells it generalized based on a lot of accounts from different people that made it to Shanghai. It actually tells a story of some of the survivors who made it on one of Chiune Sugihara's visas. Chiune Sugihara, by the way, not only risked his job by writing all these visas to save all these people, but he actually even got punished. He lost his job And he and his family spent 18 months in a Soviet Union concentration camp afterwards, before finally being released to the Japanese government, in which Chiune Sugihara was never allowed to work for the Japanese government ever again, and he wound up working for like some boating company or something like that, some transport company. But yeah, the Israeli government later recognized Chiune Sugihara and gave him an award decades later. But coming back to this one, you can find this one in our other holidays section in the juvenile stacks. And not only is the artwork done by a wonderful Chinese artist, but the story relates back to the biography of a wonderful real life person. So I hope you enjoyed.